Welcome to the CCEF Blogcast, where CCEF authors read their own blogs. Today, Darby Strickland is reading her blog titled Shepherding Children Through Exposure to Pornography. She considers ways to guide children through exposure to pornography, encouraging parents to speak into this area of their children's need and bringing orienting words of hope.
Shepherding children through exposure to pornography. The reality cannot be denied. The majority of teens are viewing pornography, whether on purpose or by accident. We know porn is everywhere, but I think many parents fail to realize what characterizes today's pornography. Internet porn is made up of moving images with sounds depicting every type of sexual activity and orientation. It is dark, it is free, and it is evil. What is worse than our children's exposure to pornography is why they are choosing to view it. Of the children who admitted to intentionally searching for pornography, nearly 2/3 of them revealed they had done so for one or more of the following reasons. 1. To look for new ideas to try sexually. 2. To learn about sex in general. 3. To find out how to get better at sex. 4. To discover what a potential partner might expect from them sexually. Girls in particular mentioned using pornography to learn how to meet boys' expectations. The internet is providing our children with sex education, and it is the worst type. It displays a corrupted and distorted depiction of what God designed to be a wonderful expression of intimacy and oneness. Pornography lures children in, feeds their curiosity, then leaves them with images that stick. These hooks pull them back in to look again and again, and what they see shapes their desires. We can easily see the potential for great danger in this trend, yet most parents I speak with struggle to talk to their children about pornography, let alone the dangers of it. The Bible tells us that we are to shepherd our children, so we must push past what feels uncomfortable or brings up our own issues with sex. Our children are counting on it. Scripture beckons our children to listen to our wisdom. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head and pendants for your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. Proverbs 1, 8-10. Our guidance is not just a source of protection, it also beautifies our children as they become better image bearers. To help you do what feels impossible, I will outline 4 negative effects of pornography. I will label them as the threat, and provide you with a conversation point for each, which I will label the teaching. I hope that in doing so, you can see how approachable this topic can be, given the biblical truths you already are discussing at home. The first threat: pornography is confusing and overwhelming for children. Not only can they not process its explicit nature, but they also cannot make sense of the complex themes and messages. They will see sex portrayed as violent, and that any combination of people, sexes, and ages can be involved. This will cause them great stress, and the exposure can be traumatic for some. We can combat this by teaching our children. Be honest with your children about the reality that they will someday be exposed to sexual images. They are everywhere in our digital world. Tell them that they are to do 2 things when they see one. Instruct them to close the window as fast as they can and then come and tell you what has happened. 1 Corinthians 6:18. Help them make sense of what they saw and offer the proper reassurances they will need to counter it. The last thing you want is your child Googling to figure out what they saw or looking longer at the screen to make sense of it. You want to be their source of information and wisdom, especially about sex. We see this as the role of the parent in Proverbs, and it is one we need to lean into now more than ever. Reassure them that they are not in trouble. They were right to quickly close the screen and come and tell you about it. The second threat: pornography will normalize unhealthy, unrealistic, and often violent attitudes and behaviors toward sex, relationships, and women. This will negatively impact children's future behavior and relationships as well. We can teach them by making it a point to regularly discuss how other media content such as TV, movies, and music impacts them, Ephesians 5, 1 through 12. Then you will have the opportunity to expand these discussions to pornography. Contrast what our culture portrays with how the Lord values women as image bearers, His design for His relationships and sex. Scripture teaches us that we will never use another person or relationship for our gain. Love means sacrificing and serving. Christ's love for us is the ultimate example. Love is never selfish, and sex cannot be divorced from its meaning. It should showcase the sacrificial and serving love that spouses have for one another. The third threat. Children exposed to pornography will have an increased risk of being addicted to pornography as adults. Young people are still learning how to manage and resist disordered desires and develop impulse control. We can counter this threat by teaching our children, by talking to them about how sin, especially sexual sin, is a trickster because it feels good all the while it hurts you. One of the ways it hurts you is to leave you always wanting more. The more we choose it, the more we want it. Eventually, the desire might even feel out of control. Help them think of ways to guard their hearts against regular temptations that they have, Proverbs 4:23. Discuss what they can do to prevent, avoid, and turn from them. Then help them apply that to explicit images. Remind them that God sees what they are up to, but teach this as a comfort because God promises to be their helper in moments of temptation. The fourth threat. Children who are exposed to pornography may be more vulnerable to sexual exploitation and grooming. They may be more likely to engage in risky sexual behavior like sexting, which can have serious consequences. We can counter this in our teaching by being direct about how, especially in the online world, people are not always who they say they are. Jeremiah 9, 5 through 9 and Matthew 7, 15. People who groom children seek them out online, portraying themselves as trustworthy and friendly. They exploit children's insecurity and trust. Talk about how easy it is to pretend in the virtual world, and that sometimes pretending can be dangerous. Role play is a good way to help teach your children discernment, giving them skills to prevent them from revealing too much information or photos of themselves, not only with strangers, but also with people they perceive to be friends. They must know what is dangerous and how to shut down uncomfortable and unwise conversations. Children need to understand that leaving such conversations without an explanation is not rude, it is wise. While you should also take steps to limit your children's exposure to pornography, you also need to prepare them for it. Sadly, their exposure is inevitable. But I want to encourage you that teaching your children simple truths can springboard you into deeper and more difficult conversations about God's design for sex and His desire to protect them. God does not want our children to be caught off guard by evil. That is why His Word is full of warnings about it. Pray for God to give you the courage and the conviction to prepare and protect your children.
The Christian Counseling and Educational Foundation exists to restore Christ to counseling and counseling to the church. To learn more about our mission and explore our resources, events, and online courses, visit ccef.org. Today's fun fact is about our studio. In 2021, CCEF built a brand new production studio in our main building. By building false walls, preserving our historic fireplace and hidden bookshelves, and enlisting the help of a set designer, we now have 3 full sets in one room.